is Buddha? By Bhante Punisi. This talk will explain about what Buddha's characters are.
Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijja Charana Sampanno Sugato Loka Vidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarthi Satta Deva Manussanang Buddho Bhagavati. So it is really important that to understand this statement of the Buddha, this is a description of the Buddha. When we say Itipiso Bhagava, Itipi so Bhagava means in this way. The word Bhagava is translated as blessed. Bhagava as blessed. Now, blessed means one who is blessed. I think this word has to be understood in modern English words as holy. The word holy means that same thing, Bhagava. Now, holy is a very important word that few people really understand. There was a writer who wrote a book on this subject called Holy. The name of that title was The Idea of the Holy. Now, holy means something very special, which is very religious. We have to use words like sublime or holy, which is of a religious significance. Religious purity of mind. That is the meaning of holy. A purity of mind. So, Bhagava, the word Bhagava means that Arahang Samma Sambuddho. What is the meaning of Arahang and Samma Sambuddho? It's very important to understand those words. Arahang means Ara means what is called a fetter. A fetter is, now if you tie something with a rope, that rope is a fetter. Now if you tie a dog to a post with a rope, that rope is a fetter. And the dog cannot run about, is tied to the post, and that tie is a rope. It is a fetter. It is, another word is bond, binding. You bond, a bond is what binds a person. So, ara refers to a bond. And hung means to break or destroy. So if you break the bond, break the rope that ties the dog to a post, that breaking is what is meant by hung. Ara hung. That is the breaking of the bond. So this word arahang is used to refer to the Buddha. Now, the Buddha is an arahang. That means he is the breaker of the bonds. He has broken the bonds. The bond means you are bound to something. What is it that you are bound to? That is very important to understand. We are bound to what is called bhava. Bhava means being. Now today the word bhava is translated by the English translator as becoming. That is not correct. It is not becoming. They used the word becoming because they didn't understand what the Buddha was trying to say. You see, the Western philosophers use two words to describe this important thing, which is being and becoming. Two words, being and becoming. Now, becoming means, now you plant a seed. When you plant a seed, what happens? It begins to grow. And when it begins to grow, it can become a tree. So, becoming is a process of change. To become is to change. It is a process of change. This is very important to understand that word becoming. But being is the opposite of that. Being means it will be there forever in that same state. To be is not to change. Being means not changing at all. And becoming is changing. You understand? Now, what the Buddha pointed out was, we are not being, we are becoming. What does that mean? When a child is born, what happens to the child? Is the child going to be there in that same way all the time? He is gradually growing and becoming an adult. And even as an adult, that person won't be like that. Gradually begins to grow old and ultimately fall sick and die. So that is a becoming and not a being. You understand? So when the Buddha used the word bhava, the bhava is being. But the translator thought the Buddha cannot be talking about being, he must be talking about becoming, because the life of a person is changing every moment. So it has to be a becoming. That is what the translator thought. But the word being, the bhava, that the word bhava was being, not becoming. Why is the word bhava being used here? Because people in the world, although they are all the time becoming, they are thinking they are being. You see the point? Although people are changing all the time, they never think of themselves as changing, they are just being. And that is a mistake. They are making this mistake of being, although the fact is becoming. This is what the Buddha is trying to say. Bhava is not becoming, bhava means being. And what the Buddha points out is, we have to get out of this becoming, being, and understand becoming. So that this is why the Buddha says, bhava nirodho nibbānam. Bhava nirodho nibbānam. Nirodha means to come out of that state of being. In other words, stop thinking of being. Understand becoming. So what is called nirvana is to awaken from the dream of existence. Being means existence. Existence means existence. This is why I say that existence is a static concept in a dynamic reality. Dynamic means changing all the time. Static means it is not changing. So when we use the word existence, we are talking about a static concept which is not changing. But the reality is all the time changing. So that is why existence is a static concept in a dynamic reality. The reality is dynamic. So to awaken from the dream of existence is to awaken from the dream of existence. To awaken from the dream of existence. That is the meaning of nirvana. So nirvana is awakening from the dream of existence. Awakening from the dream of being. there is no being in this world. There is only the becoming part. So this is the important thing to understand. So when we say Arahang, the Ara is the binding. The binding to what? Binding to the view or idea of existence. We are thinking we are existing. We are bound to that idea of existence. Why is this? Why are we bound to the idea of existence? This is very important to understand that. Why are we bound to the idea of existence? This is because the idea of existence is not a rational concept. We have not thought with our intellect or intelligence. We have not been using our intelligence to find out whether it is a being or becoming, whether it is. We feel we are existing. Even if you are fully, you have understood that you are not really existing. You can use your intelligence and understand it, that you are not really existing. But what happens? You are feeling you are existing all the time. So in other words, this idea of existence is not a rational concept. It is an emotional feeling. This is the point. So we are carried away by an emotional feeling and not a rational concept. If we look at it intelligently, we discover that we are not a static existence. It is a change going on all the time. From the time you are born till the time you die, it is a change. But you are all the time thinking, I am existing, I am here. You see? And that feeling of existence is only a feeling. It is not a rational concept. So it is that feeling that we have to give up. Even if we are convinced that it is true that we are not really existing, but still we feel we are existing all the time. So we have to get rid of that feeling of existence. Now the problem is how to get rid of that feeling. That is the problem. So the only way to get rid of this feeling is to understand that we have two kinds of minds. One is the thinking mind and the other is the feeling mind. We have two minds. This is what the Buddha called Mano and Chitta. Mano is the thinking mind and Chitta is the feeling mind or emotional mind. Mano and Chitta, today the modern psychologists are aware of this. How Sigmund Freud was the person who showed this difference. He pointed out that the thinking mind is what he called the ego, and the feeling or emotional mind is what he called the id, id. So the id and the ego, and the id is going in one direction, the ego is going in the other direction. So the ego or the thinking part is talking about the truth about things, but the feeling mind says, no, I am existing. I want this, I want that, I hate this, I hate that. You know, the small child, the mothers know this, there is a conflict between the child and the mother. The child says, I want this and I want that. The mother says, no, it's not good for you to eat too much ice cream or maybe some things. But the child says, no, I want this. So you see, the child is dominated by the emotional mind because the child's thinking mind is not properly developed yet. Only when the child becomes an adult that the thinking mind comes up properly. Now the mother is dominated by the thinking mind even at that point. But most of the time, even the adults are carried away by emotions. This is the problem. Yeah. No, the important thing is that this is the important meaning of this, that Itipiso Bhagava Arahang. Arahang really means that emotional mind which is doing the tying to the idea of existence is broken. Hang means broken. And there are 10 fetters or 10 ropes that bind the human being to the idea of existence. And those 10 fetters have to be broken. So when we speak of Arahant, we are talking about the Buddha who has broken those 10 fetters. That is the meaning of Arahant. And when we say Samma Sambuddho, Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho, what does Samma Sambuddho means? Samma Sambuddho means one who has awakened from this dream of existence. Buddha means the awakened one, the one who has awakened from this dream of existence. That's the important thing. So, awakened from the dream of existence. Samma Sambuddho. That's the important thing. Now, Arahang Sambuddho, Samma. Now, the important thing is, Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho, Vijja Charana Sampanno. Vijja charana sampanno. That is also very important to understand. Vijja means knowledge. Charana means behavior. Vijja charana sampanno. That is very important to understand. The behavior and the knowledge are going together. They are united. What does that mean? Most people maybe you are very well educated in the Dhamma, but your behavior is something completely different. You see, even though you are educated in the Dhamma, you may be behaving in the wrong way. Now here, the Buddha is behaving according to how he has understood. Vijja charana sampanno. The Vijja is the knowledge, charana is the behavior. Sampanno means living according to that knowledge. This is the important thing. Why is this difficulty that your knowledge is not the same thing as the behavior? Now you might, and this is what happens, you can even criticize me and say, oh, you are talking about these things, but your behavior is different. You see? That is because we are always not behaving in the way we are talking about. So that is a big thing. You see, now here the Buddha is behaving in the way that he is talking about. Now this concept is recognized by modern psychologists, and there is a term that the modern psychologists use for this, and that is what is called cognitive dissonance. That is what is called cognitive dissonance. Your thinking and your behavior are going in two different directions. That is because the thinking part, the thinking mind and the emotional mind are going in two different directions. You see, today we don't have many people who are driving bullock carts here in this country. But never seen that. Maybe some of you have never seen a thing like that. But even if you go to Sri Lanka, you can see people. Maybe India also you might still see people doing that. And the important thing is, sometimes you have two bulls being tied to a cart, and the two bulls may be pulling in two different directions. One bull in one direction, other person going in the other direction. Two people going in two different directions. So in the same way, if our thinking part is going in one direction and the emotional part going in another direction, we cannot even go. That is the cognitive dissonance. And that is what the Buddha called Vicikiccha. Vicikiccha is this division. Now, this is the meaning of ekaggata. Ekaggata is a word that is being translated as one-pointedness. That one-pointedness is not just concentration, but one-pointedness is where the mind is working in unison. It is the unification of the mind, not going in two different directions. So the mind has to be united, not divided into two different directions. So when we speak of the Buddha, Vijja Charana Sampanno, that is a great thing that the Buddha has acquired. Not going in two different directions. And say, Sugato, there is another word, Sugato, which is translated here as sublime. But the important thing, Sugato means Su-gato. Su means good. Gato means gone to. That means gone to goodness. In other words, become good. This is because, you see, most people are both good and bad. Sometimes doing good things, sometimes doing bad things. You see? But here, the Buddha, because of this union, the mind is not going in two different directions, and therefore only one direction, and that direction is the good direction. So the Buddha is Sugato, means become good. Become good. That is the meaning of Sugato. So you see, when you understand this, you begin to really value the teachings of the Buddha, and also you know how to do it. You learn how to do it. Sugato. And now is Loka Vidu. Sugato Loka Vidu. Loka means the world. Vidu means who has penetrated the world, understood the world, fully understood the world. Loka Vidu. Loka Vidu. Sugato Loka Vidu. Now, this is also a very important thing to understand. But when we think of just understanding the world, we normally think of it in a wrong way. You see, Lokavidu, meaning that well, to explain this, we have to go into a deeper level. And that deeper level means what is called the existential way of thinking. Now, existential way of thinking means that we think of a thing called existence. Now, existence means we already used that word existence when we spoke of the word bhava. That bhava was existence. And we spoke of two words, bhava and becoming and being. So, but here, when we talk about existence, first we have to understand that when we open our eyes, we begin to see. When you open your eyes, you begin to see. See what? The question arises, when you speak of seeing, you are seeing something, seeing an object. So what you see is an object. Now when you learn English or any language, you begin to learn there are two things called a subject and an object. So if you say, I see a ball, ball becomes the object, I become the subject, and seeing becomes the verb. The subject, object, and the verb. The verb is the action. The action here is the seeing. So seeing is the action. I see a picture. I see a picture. Picture becomes the object. The subject is the I. And seeing is the action. So every statement will have a subject, object, and a verb. Now, when I see something, I think of what I see, which is the object, and I also begin to see that I see. I becomes the subject. So there is a subject and an object. And both subject and object is seen to exist. So existence is the existence of a subject and an object. So when we speak of existence, is that. So when we think of the world, what are we thinking of? The world is an object and I am in the world. So I is the subject and the world is the object. To understand the world is to understand myself and to understand the world. You see, that is understanding the world in the normal way. That is how everyone understands the world. And most people, they want to learn more about the world, and that is how you go and learn maybe science or philosophy or business or whatever you are talking about or whatever you are studying in school or in the universities. You are all the time studying what? About this subject and the object. That is all you are studying about. And that is supposed to be knowing about the world. You see? But here the Buddha points out that knowing about the world is not that. That is not knowing about the world. You see, every time you begin to know about the world means you are building concepts. You are building more and more concepts about what you see or what you hear or what you smell or what you taste or what you touch. That is all that you are talking about. And you are building concepts. If you have built many concepts, you think you have learnt a lot of things. Now, this kind of building concepts is what the Buddha called papancha. There is a word that the Buddha used that is called papancha. Today, of course, some people translate that as proliferation and all those words, but actually that is what is called categorization. You put it into a category. Every time you form a new concept, that new concept will belong to a category. Say, for example, if you learn to know about a flower, you take the flower and you say, oh, this is a petal, this is a stigma or something like that. You give new names to different parts, and then that part becomes a category. So whenever you see another flower, you will see another stamen or a petal or a stalk or whatever you call it. So it's another category. Now when I look at this, I will look at it and say, oh, this is a microphone. Why? How do I know it's a microphone? Because I have seen microphones before. And this belongs to that category called microphone. And I look at this and say, oh, this is a book. Or this is a paper. How do I know? Because I have seen this before and I put this object into that category called book or paper or whatever. So this is what we do. We begin to learn different kinds of categories and we say we have learned a lot of things. So learning about the world he is learning more and more words and more categories. Now the Buddha says, Papanchabi rata bhaja, nippapancha tathagata. What does that mean? That normal people are fond of learning more and more categories. But the Tathagata is the person who is the awakened person, has given up all categories. Now, instead of learning categories, what does he do? He has penetrated the world. And that means he has understood that these are all categories and doesn't think in terms of categories. And what happens is, this is what is called ditte dittamattam bhavisati. What that means is, in the seeing, there is no what is seen or who is seen, there is only the seeing. In the seen, S-E-E-N, seen, there is only the seeing, S-E-E-I-N-G. In the seen, S-E-E-N, seen, there is only the seeing, S-E-E-I-N-G. So that way is loka vidu. When we say loka vidu, the Buddha has penetrated the world and understood that there is no real world here. It is only an appearance and not a reality. So we are distinguishing between an appearance and a reality. There is a difference between an appearance and a reality. The world appears to you. It is an appearance only. But we think of realities. One reality is myself, and another reality is the world. And then we begin to have a relationship between the self and the world. And the relationship can be in the form of a desire, or in the form of a hatred, or in the form of a fear, or in the form of a worry. And that is what is called dukkha, unhappiness. The unhappiness is a result of this reaction. And the reaction is the result of existence. I exist, you exist, and then we have a reaction. And the reaction ends up in suffering. You see, when you have really seeing that there is only seeing, there is no what you see or who sees, There is only the saying, you have come out of existence or being. This is, of course, a long story which when we use the word Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho, we may be reciting these things, and if you begin to understand, the entire Dhamma is in this story. And then the Buddha says, Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijja Charana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu. Lokavidu means understood the world. Satta Deva Manussanam. Satta means the teacher of Devas and Manussas, the human beings as well as the gods. So the Buddha has become the teacher not only of human beings but also of superhuman beings like the gods. He has become the teacher. Therefore, he is superior to the gods also, Devas. Satta Deva Manussanam. Buddho Bhagavati. Buddho means awakened, and Bhagava means, we may use the word blessed or holy or whatever it is. So that means transcended. Or we can use that word transcended. Transcend means awaken from the dream of existence and reach the high level transcendence. It is like the lotus. The lotus is a symbol of transcendence, because the lotus is a flower that grows in the water, born in the water, grown up in the water, and risen above the water and remains unsoiled by the water. That is the real transcendence. In the same way, the Buddha was born in the world, grown up in the world, risen above the world, and remained unsoiled by the world. That is the real transcendence. And that transcendence is the Bhagava. Awakened and transcendent. So the word transcendent could be the better word to translate the word Bhagava. So I think for today we have spoken enough about this. So at least you have understood the meaning of Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijja Charana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisadhamma Sarthi Satta Deva Manussanam Buddho Bhagavati. The meaning, when you understand the meaning, you have understood the Dhamma there. To understand the Buddha is to understand the Dhamma. Maybe next time we can even go into the Dhamma. Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditthiko Akaliko Ehipassiko Opanaiko Pachattang Veditabbo Vinyohiti. It's very important to understand these words which we just recite but don't know the proper meaning. When you begin to understand these things, you begin to understand the real teaching of the Buddha. So maybe next time we go into that. So for today, we stop here, and if you have any questions to ask, you can ask questions now.
Most Venerable Sir, thank you very much for the very thorough explanation. But I'm afraid, Bhante, the part on Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati was a little bit missed.
Anuttaro means unsurpassable. Unsurpassable. That means there is no one to go beyond that. Anuttaro. Uttara means to go up, above. Anuttaro means there is no one to go beyond this. Unsurpassable. Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati. Purisa Dhamma Sarati means, Purisa means a person. Dhamma Sarati means, Dhamma means training. Sarati means the trainer. Purisa Dhamma Sarati means it is like a trainer of personality. The unsurpassable trainer of personality. A trainer of persons. The unsurpassable trainer of persons. That is the meaning of that. Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Satta Deva Manussanam. The teacher of the human beings as well as the superhuman gods.
The Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati, that part.
Anuttaro
that
Purisa
part.
Dhammasarati.
That part usually translators they say it is the leader of man to be tamed. Why to be tamed?
The taming is the Sarati. Sarati means the trainer. That means the idea of Purisa Dhamma. Dhamma there means training. Dhamma, there are two Dhammas you have to distinguish. One is called Dhamma. The other is Dhamma. These are two different words. They are Dhamma with the H, D-H. The other is D-A. Dhamma is not the same thing as Dhamma. You understand? Dhamma means the Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha. But Dhamma means training. You have to distinguish between these two words. Purisa Dhamma Sarati. Purisa means the person. Dhamma Sarati means, Dhamma means training. The trainer of training people, persons. The trainer that trains people. Purisa Dhamma Sarati. Sarati means training, trainer. Okay, so we'll bring our conversation to an end here. So, I hope today you understood some things, and tomorrow not tomorrow, the next time, we'll go into a study of the word Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Sandittiko Akaliko. It's also very important. And so today, by doing this, you have earned a lot of kusala karma, good